Welcome, everyone. My name is Jonathan, and I'm kind of I'm not in the greatest mood because this is gonna be my fourth time trying to make this video, and I'm starting to lose my morale on even wanting to do it. But I guess it's good to look over the heroes again. I don't know. It's just I've gone over the same 6 heroes 3 times now. Well, I guess the first time was actually when there were 5 heroes, but while I was still in the process of making it, they came out with the update, which made it so that there were 6 heroes, and I'm like, oh, okay, so that video won't be very useful when there's a 6th hero, but there's only 5 that anyways, I'm gonna get into the video because we have a lot to cover with each hero. So, down at number 6, being the worst hero, unfortunately, is Striker Jones. He's not very good. He's got a low DPS, a decent range. He's got that going for him, but that's about all he's got for him. He has a decent first ability that it stuns some balloons. It can hit black balloon, which is kind of nice, I guess. But his second ability is so terrible. It's awful. He resets the cooldowns on all bomb shooters. I mean, yeah, I guess that's cool. But it only affects bomb shooters. And it only affects bomb shooters if you're using the ability on the bomb shooter. You might not even be using it. You could be doing the other 2 pathways, making this useless. And he doesn't have any, passive abilities. It just upgrades to his already terrible attack. He's by far easily the worst hero in the game. And I wouldn't say it's also entirely in just my opinion. I would say off of experience it is. He's just not good. But moving on to number 5, we have Owen Greenfoot. So, he is definitely better than Striker Jones. I can say that much. Excuse me. His abilities are very superior. I would say his attack power is about the same, or maybe even a little less. But it's definitely his abilities and his passive ability that make him much better than Striker Jones. So his first, I'll go with the basics. He's got a decent DPS, but a low range, which kind of sets him back a little bit. But don't worry, the abilities make him a lot better. So his first ability, Brambles, it's very straightforward. It's like a big road spike. It just gets you a little bit more popping power. As you can see, pop 20 balloons. It helps. And it can only help you. There's no downside to it using it. You can even have 2 on the screen at the same time, which is very helpful. But his second ability is where he really shines, the Wall of Trees. So it traps a bunch of balloons, and then it's able to give you extra cash for them, which is great. So not only does it help pop, or I guess stop, a bunch of balloons, it gets you extra cash, which is great. I love it. And then, his passive ability. Level 4, yes. So he creates a little totem that makes balloons go slower. It's very subtle, but it still helps his hero status be a little bit better than terrible. Anyways, moving on to number 4, and or before I say this, number 4 through number 2, I had a hard time choosing who I wanted to go in those 3 slots because the 3 heroes that I chose are all very different. But in number 4, I have Gwendolyn. Yeah. So, Gwendolyn, she has a pretty good DPS, but she has a low range. She has, the same range, I think, as Gwendolyn, maybe. I'm not entirely sure, but I believe so. And that really sets her back, because she has such a great attack, but it's hard for her to hit things. Plus, her projectile speed can sometimes miss balloons, which it's what you can't be missing balloons. So, moving on to her abilities. Her first ability, the cocktail fire, it's pretty good, but it has a major problem, and that's the fact that it's random. It has a random placement, and if it's put in the wrong place on a map, it could screw you over, and you might lose that round, making you lose the game. So it's so frustrating because it can be really good, but it can also be very terrible. And so that's why I don't really enjoy using her cocktail fire, her first ability. No. But her second ability, Firestorm, that's much better because it affects every single balloon on the screen, guaranteeing you doing damage. And it does quite a bit of damage too, which is nice. And then she also has a passive ability at level 4, Heat It Up. Basically, it throws out a fire ring, popping any balloons that are right next to her, as well as it allows for other towers around her to hit or have a fire attack, so they can hit lead balloons and take them out, which is really nice. If you have something like a super monkey that can't hit lead balloons, I mean that's funny, but it's a serious interaction that could happen, and where Gwendolyn would be very useful in that scenario. But alas, she is not higher on the list. So we move to number 3, the newest hero, Benjamin. So the only reason he's not at number 2, because he is pretty good overall, is his first ability, Biohack. Plus he does no damage and has no range on his like a basic attack. There's nothing. He earns you money, but there's no attack. Though I guess technically you could argue that him getting you money can help you get more towers to attack, but that's no, because you could say that about like Oben's ability and such, whatever. So his biohack, it makes the towers attack a lot faster, but then it has a 2-second delay or cooldown, I guess, where the towers can't attack afterwards, which really brings his first ability down. It makes it very not enjoyable to use, because you're like, this could be the end of me, and I have to wait 2 seconds for it to be over, and it's not the best. But his second ability, Siphon Funding, I believe is the best in the game. It makes all balloons go down by 1 rank, so you can have those Moabs going down ceramic and etc. Plus you get double cash per pop, which is really nice, and it's for 10 seconds, so it's pretty decent actually. But what really makes him shine as being a pretty good hero is all of his passive abilities. He has 4 passive abilities, which is way more than anyone else in the game. Whew. So at level 4, he gets Skimming. He earns $1 for every new balloon spawn. That's pretty straightforward. In the late game, when there are thousands of balloons spawning every round, it's really useful to get all that extra money. At level 5, he gets the Bank Hack. All banks earn plus 5% income. It's not major, but it still helps you out, and I like it. So now we have his third passive ability, which I think is his most useless, but that is the Cybersecurity. Restores 5 lives at the end of each round. It's not completely useless. I mean, if that's his worst passive ability, getting you more lives, then I obviously the rest are pretty good. And so his fourth and final passive ability, which I believe is his best, because it's not exactly a passive ability, is the Balloon Trojan. So he sends a Trojan balloon virus every few seconds to a random balloon, and that balloon does not spawn offspring or children. So he can hit stuff up to Moabs, BFBs, and DDTs, which is so useful in the late game when every balloon matters. Ooh, yeah, it's very useful. And it's just really good. All these little passive abilities make him a really great hero, or at least a really decent hero. But moving on to number 2, we have Quincy. So he's very straightforward. He's got a high DPS and a high range. His first ability, it's very straightforward and to the point. He has triple attack speed for a short amount of time. Not much to deliberate on that. His second ability, Storm of Arrows, is kind of like the Firestorm ability that Gwendolyn has, except it's more focused on a certain group of balloons, and I believe it does a little bit more damage. So, both of his abilities, they're pretty good. I would say they're up in the top 25% of abilities, so they're pretty good. Then, but the what really makes him set apart from the other heroes is his, like, I guess I wouldn't even call them passive abilities, but his ability to see camo balloons. Yeah. No other, there is one other hero that can, but he was the first hero who could see camo balloons, and it was so useful. Oh, man. And not only that, he can hit lead balloons, so he can get those dirty camo lead balloons, which are a pain. That's what makes him so good, in my opinion. Plus, he doesn't even cost that much, so you can start off with him at the very beginning and use also a free Dart Monkey, and you're already set for the next, 15 rounds or so. He's pretty good. I enjoy using him. But for number 1, the first place, and if you haven't guessed already, it is Captain Churchill. Alright, so overall, he's amazing. He's extraordinary. He's by far the best hero in the game. Some may argue that he is such a high price that it kind of counters that, but I say otherwise because it's such a valuable investment at the beginning of the game. If you can save up the 2,000 gold at the beginning, it's so amazing. You'll be set for at least the first 30 or so rounds. So he is a high DPS, kind of like Quincy's, but he has a super high range. He's the biggest range of any hero in the game. So combined with the fact that he is a really good DPS, he outputs so much damage over such a large area on the map that it's so useful. His first ability, it's decent. It's kind of like Quincy's. He just does extra damage to ceramic or higher balloons for 5 seconds. Nothing too much to talk about there. But his second ability, Moab Barrage, I think is the only ability in the game to do specifically more damage to Moabs. Just kind of interesting. And I think that's really all for his abilities. So his levels are really what make him special in doing more damage and making him the best. So I talked about this earlier, but I forgot this exists. So yeah, he has a machine gun. So he has a secondary attack along with his prime attack with the big gun. So he does 2 attacks. He has a machine gun that rapid fires and takes out balloons. Very powerful. But he can also there we go. He can also hit camo balloons. He can hit every kind of balloon in the game, does lots of damage, and can hit them from almost anywhere. He can hit camo, lead, purple, Moab, fortified, etc. He's got them all covered and in such a big range and does it very efficiently. So that's why he is the best hero in the game, in my opinion. Or maybe it's not in my opinion. I don't know. He might be. So anyways, that's going to be it for this video, guys. I hope it finally works, because I'm done re-recording this video. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.